guys. Today I want to tell you about the heart of Appalachia. When visitors hike up to the pinnacle overlook observation deck at Cumberland Gap National Historical Park to view the valleys below, they are standing almost at the spot where the borders of Virginia, Tennessee, and Kentucky meet. What may not be obvious from the lookout is that the rugged landscape of rolling Appalachian woodlands was once a bustling crossroads of industry and culture that helped shape much of the eastern United States. The namesake Cumberland Gap, a low break in the central Appalachian Mountains, used to be a well-trodden route for Native Americans and then early settlers of European descent moving east and west through the area. Daniel Boone led a team through the gap to settle in Kentucky. When the railroad arrived in the late 18th, the forests here supplied the lumber that built many eastern towns and homes, and the mountains were mined for coal that fired the Industrial Revolution. Today, those extractive industries run at the fraction of their former strengths. The landscape bears their pockmarks in the form of closed mine sites, old logging roads, and an economy that was pitted with those industries. Despite the long shadow of history here, when Will Bowling, the Nature Conservancy's Central Appalachians Project Director for Kentucky, looks down from the pinnacle overlook, he views things quite differently. He sees the future. That's because Bowling is helping to drive one of TNC's most ambitious efforts to date, a project that will not only protect some of the most critical wildlife corridors in the eastern states, but also could help diversify the battered economy in the heart of coal country. The framework for this vision took shape earlier this year when TNC created an investment fund to purchase properties totaling 200,000 acres, some with history in the coal and timber industries. The large parcels reach into all three states in the Cumberland Gap area: Kentucky, Virginia, and Tennessee. It is one of TNC's largest ever land deals in the United States. It's pretty hard to get your mind wrapped around the scope of the property, Bowling says, but it's a large enough scale that we are really going to be able to move the needle so that we can be sure we have a highly functional landscape here in the 100 years and beyond. Despite more than 150 years of logging and mining, the Central Appalachians have some of the highest recorded levels of biodiversity in the eastern United States. The purchase will help protect rare populations of salamanders, freshwater mussels, elk, and other at-risk species. Perhaps more important, the region has been identified as a critical source to North Corridor that scientists expect will enable the movement of species as the climate continues to warm. The first of the two acquisitions was the Attaya property, 100,000 acres straddling the Kentucky-Tennessee border acquired in April. It's largely composed of current and former working forests and coal mines. The second purchase was the 153,000-acre Highlands Lonesome Pine property in southwestern Virginia, which was acquired in July. It's just as sprawling but looks like Swiss cheese on a map because one of its prior owners, a coal company, assembled the property by buying many individual parcels over a long period of time. Buying such a large property takes serious money, and in this case, much of the funding came from a relatively new source. Impact investing, which leverages private investment capital to support conservation projects that have the potential to earn a profit. The plan is to treat the Cumberland properties as a little like a fixer-upper house. Over the next decade, TNC will begin restoring the forests. Where appreciate, it will implement Forest Stewardship Council certificate sustainable logging operations to generate income through sustainable forestry. The Prosperities are also enrolled in California carbon offset market, which allows the project to generate revenue even if trees are not cut, by recognizing the value of the carbon stored in the forest. Meanwhile, some of the properties already came with success leases to local hunting and fishing, and there are plans to make other areas available for use by local outfitters in the growing outdoor recreation industry. All of these activities will use local contractors and support green jobs to the local economy. It's about finding that nexus between providing conservation while still maintaining the human relationships with the properties. Bowling says, adding that the plan is not to lock people out of the land, but to prove that conservation can be an economic driver. A decade or so down the road, the project aims to sell the revitalized land to new private and public owners. The project will seek to place restrictions on as much of the property as possible to ensure that sustainable management continues. On the heels of TNC completing the Cumberland Forest Project acquisitions, Virginia Governor Ralph Northam announced in August that the Commonwealth's largest ever open space assignment will permanently protect near 15% of the Virginia portion. In his statement, Governor Northam said, "This unique partnership will allow for sustainable forestry, improve access to outdoor recreation, and increase protection of wildlife habitat and water quality. The carbon projects require sustainable forest practices for at least 100 years. The promise of this approach is already evident in St. Paul, a town in southwest Virginia that was once a hub of a regional coal industry. Throughout the last century, its fortunes rose and fell with the price of coal, and recent market declines have taken the town with it. In the 1990s, TNC launched its Clinch Valley program, which aimed to restore waterways and forests around the nearby Clinch River. In the process of conserving its natural resources, The town has recently started to see a spike in economic vitality, not from coal but from recreation. The Nature Conservancy has always been involved on the fringe of everything we've done, and sometimes smack in the middle of it, says Lo Wallace, a community leader who serves on the local Russell County Board of Supervisors. She is also the founding director of St. Paul Tomorrow, which seeks to craft diverse creative economy to replace dependency on coal, in part by promoting biodiversity and access to nature, as the Kenya community has said. Signs of the initiative's success are everywhere in town. Outdoor adventure campaigns report a surging number of people making use of the Clinch River and surrounding lands for pursuits ranging from kayaking, tubing, and ATV trail riding to hiking and fishing. One outfitter has launched regular volunteer river cleanups. People used to toss old tires in the river, Valens says. Now they're pulling them out. A new boutique hotel with a farm-to-table restaurant caters to tourists, while recently opened microbrewery using water from the Clinch is doing a brisk business. People are starting to understand what we can live in harmony with our environment and still make money, Boland says. She thinks TNC will succeed with the Cumberland Forest project to the extent that it can advance both objects. I do know that they are going to be good neighbors and good partners, because I have learned that over the past 20 years, say Wallace. If it wasn't for their work, some of the things they have been doing, we wouldn't be as far down the road as we are. Conservancy staffers hope to replicate this formula on an enormous scale through the Cumberland Forest project. The plan has elements that are local, regional, and ultimately global in scale, says Brad Krebs, who directs TNC's Clinch Valley program in Southwest Virginia. He's chomping at the bit to see how much growth, both economic and environmental, TNC can achieve across the Cumberland Gap region. This area is so rich; it's got all of the ingredients. With some conservation-oriented thinking and management, I think we are going to be amazed by what happens. The Conservancy's Cumberland Forest project sits in the heart of the central Appalachians, one of the most biologically rich regions in the eastern United States. Unlike the northern stretch of the Appalachian Mountains, this area was not blanketed by glaciers during the last ice age, which allowed many more species to thrive here. As a result, the Central Appalachians are now home to an extraordinarily high number of plant and animal species that are found here more than anywhere else. The 253,000 acres that TNC now manages here are home to curiosities like the golden-winged warbler, northern long-eared bat, multiple species of endangered freshwater mussels, and native fish like the Kentucky and Cumberland arrow darters. For ecologist Mark Anderson, TNC's Director of Conservation Science, for the eastern United States, the Cumberland Forest Project represents the culmination of a career worth of research. The TNC team that he works on predicts that this area will be an instrumental refuge for protecting biodiversity as the climate changes. They study how species move in response to disruptions in their environment. The climate is changing, which means that temperature and moisture regimens are changing, Anderson says. In response to that, our three populations are slowly shifting from where they are now to where they will probably be in the future. These north-south running mountains offer a wide range of microclimates, some of which can act as suitable habitats for plant species adapted to wetter or cooler conditions, allowing them to repopulate further north or higher up in elevation as temperatures increase. And when the vegetation shifts, animal species go along with it, says Anderson. So we are really having a transition of nature on the landscape. That's why connecting large swaths of protected land will be crucial to preserving biodiversity in the face of climate change. Even more important, according to Anderson's most recent research, is protecting critical areas that link key habitat. The models highlight the Cumberland area as one of the really important linkages, he says. We found that you have a relatively large number of species moving through a relatively small area. Studies have found that the ranges of plants and animals are already shifting in response to warming temperatures and changes in moisture. For example, the range of eastern hawthorn trees has shifted 25 miles north and 48 miles west, as the Midwest has become better and warmer over the last 40 years. The range of muskotwood trees has shifted north at the rate of almost 6 miles per decade, and as the trees move, so do the animals. The next step, says Anderson, will be studying the outcomes of this Cumberland Forest project. It will take a few years to see how well the purchase protects lands for species moving response to a changing climate, but he feels confident that what is learned here will provide a foundation for new land protection projects everywhere. What's really exciting about the project is that it elevates our conservation into a new level, he says, a level where TNC can include resilience to climate change as a factor in our decisions about what land to protect. And we think it will become a model for other projects throughout the United States, says Anderson. While the land deals were completed this year, the Cumberland Forest project has been a long time in the making. In 2007, TNC and Tennessee state agencies collaborated to establish the 140,000 acre North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area. Elk reintroductions there and in urban Kentucky, led by states and their partners, have re-established some of the largest elk populations east of the Mississippi. Having achieved that, Tennessee's Central Appalachia sub started looking at a neighbor's property just to the north, the 100,000 acre Attaya tract. Okay, guys, that's it for today. Have a nice day and goodbye.